Let's start there in Atlanta. Let's first get to the yelling that happened on the field after the game. Arthur Smith was yelling at Dennis Allen, the coach of the New Orleans Saints, about scoring late. Well, Jameis Winston later on after the game in his locker apologized for scoring, apologized to his coach, because apparently it was a team decision on the field to get Jamal Williams his only touchdown of the season.
Hey, how'd that work out there, parakeet hat wearing guy? How'd that work for you? Lions got David Montgomery. You went down to New Orleans and went right back to being an also-ran. Keep throwing shade at Detroit. They didn't want your ass.
So Arthur Smith then yells at Dennis Allen, and the reports before the game were that there was going to be a conversation on Monday regarding job security in Atlanta.
Yeah, well, it was had.
Well, it happened on the plane back from New Orleans. He was fired. Your thoughts on the next thing for the Falcons? Because there's a lot of rumors out there about who they may want.
I mean, you can't have a losing record 3 years in a row in this league. And drafting Bijan but not using him, bizarre.
Yeah.
Entrusting Desmond Ridder with your franchise, yet paying Heineke $20 million, bizarre.
Not using your tight end, not using you had all the weapons that teams would love to have, and you decided. But what if we used our backup fullback?
Right.
Nobody sees that.
It's an attractive situation. I think it'd be a great landing spot for Justin Fields if the Bears get rid of him. Now, who's the head coach? No idea. No, I have no idea, but it should be an attractive job.
Well, Diana Rossini of The Athletic is reporting that the Falcons are a team to watch if the Patriots move on from Bill Belichick.
No, it's not if. They're moving on. That'll come out later in the week.
Yeah, that's interesting because Bill Belichick met with reporters, and his answer was, I'm under contract. Do what I always do, which is every day I come in and I work as hard as I can to help the team win whatever I can. He then answered and says, well, we'll deal with things internally, meaning they have a series of meetings coming up. So you do think that this week he's gone.
Yeah, gone. 100%. It's run its course. It's become, it's reached sad phase. I do think that's a destination for potentially Brian Flores. I think it's a possible destination for Jared Mayo to take over. Or you want a long shot play? How about Mike Vrabel coming home?
Time to move on in Tennessee maybe as well.
Yeah.
Period. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, you saw
Derrick Henry saying goodbye to everybody, but I'm not gone, but just in case.
He gone.
Great seeing you.
Speak to the fans because I don't know what's going on. Well, we do know what's going on in Washington. It is now official. Ron Rivera is gone, and they didn't waste any time. They have already requested permission to talk to possible GM candidates.
How about them hiring? Coaching. How about them hiring from Golden State, Bob Myers?
That's what I was going to get to
He's
next.
running their search.
Yeah, him and Rick Spielman will assist in the group of searches, but Bob Myers is the guy running it.
Okay, well, maybe that's where Harbaugh goes. A desperate organization, need to sell tickets, power running game is in their roots.
Number 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah, and again, that would fit. An organization's going to have to be desperate if they're going to hire Harbaugh because he's a complete pain in the ass.
Well, the Falcons are maybe look at Harbaugh. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated supporting that blank could target Jim Harbaugh.
There you go. All the weapons are in place.
Atlanta?
The weapons are there. Power running game. David, it's who he is.
And, I mean, they won't have the number 2 overall pick, but I think Atlanta has, a top 10 pick?
Right, and they can trade for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
They can get that done. Speaking of the number 2 overall pick, let me get to that because I did talk about the Commanders. Let me give you what they have, which could make their job attractive. They have the number 2 overall pick. They also then have 5 picks in the top 100 and $74 million projected in cap space right now.
Perfect.
So them being in Washington, that is a very attractive job there.
You get to select your quarterback. Would Jaden Daniels be a nice selection there? Drake May.
Well, if it's Harbaugh, who he's going after.
Oh, J.J. McSmiles?
Yeah.
Good for me, because that means Commanders finish last place every year. Fine by me. J.J. needs to come back to school.
I think so. Let's talk about this for a quick minute because everyone watched this game, this Sunday night matchup. It was for the division. Miami was hosting Buffalo, but it was basically a Buffalo home game down there. I mean, that crowd was fully Buffalo.
It was wild.
But I have a statement here, and I want to know if you agree with it or not, guys. It is the Dolphins are complete frauds. Their offense did nothing in the second half. Doesn't matter if they have Waddle or not. Tua, we have the answers. He cannot lead your team to the Super Bowl.
It's pretty lazy. I mean, they lost their bookend DNs and Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, gone for the year. Jalen Waddle did not play. Raheem Mostert did not play.
Yeah.
Offensive line is beat up. And you ran into a Buffalo team who has evolved into one of the 6 or 7 best defenses in football.
Yeah, and what you're seeing in the NFL, just like most sports, it is a marathon. Sometimes you don't want to peak too soon.
Right.
The Dolphins did. They were the hottest team out there, and now they're wearing down. Think about it. At one point, the Eagles, I think, were 10-1. Hard to think, but yeah, they were the best team out there. Now they're limping to the finish line. So they would need to somehow regroup, but I just think that it's just the wear and tear of the NFL. The Ravens look to be peaking right now. Now we'll see, can Lamar go out there and win that playoff game and get them there? But I don't think that there is head and shoulders one team that you're like, that team's going to, like the Chiefs were for years, where it's like, if they don't win it, you know they're going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't think you have that team this year.
Yeah, let me see Tua in Kansas City. He lays an egg there, the cold weather, the whole bit. It'll fulfill every stereotype of what Miami is. I'm more inclined to have the conversation. But how do we view them if they go into Kansas City and win? None of what you said will apply. I'm not coming at you, David. I'm saying, let's see the wild card game. And if they look terrible, they lose the whole thing, say whatever you want. But if they win, a lot of this goes away. Welcome to being a quarterback in the NFL. You could be an MVP, but have a bad playoff record, and you're Lamar Jackson. It's all about what you do in January. So let's see it.
So let's close it out with this, since it is Black Monday, a conversation I want to have with 2 teams. One is in the playoffs. One failed to make the playoffs because they lost on Sunday. Let's start with that team. That is the Jacksonville Jags. What happens with them? You're not going to fire their coach.
No.
But what do you do to basically you make up for failing this year?
I think you spend every waking second fixing that offensive line. It was a complete clown car. And defensively, they were never right. They were never able to put that thing together. They were a complete disappointment. I mean, at one point, they had gotten to, 7-2?
Yes.
And just completely fell apart in what we deem to be the easiest division in football. It's a complete disappointment. Anything less than the playoffs next year, and I'd fire Doug Peterson. Zero BS. You have to make the playoffs there. You have to.
And I think that maybe this is one of those places where you have to go out and get a real backup QB just in case something happens to keep this thing going. Trevor Lawrence, I know he had never missed a game going back to college, but all of a sudden he broke down at the end of the year, and you were just hoping that you could just somehow sneak your way into the playoffs while he was getting healthy.
And then that last team is the Philadelphia Eagles. They are in the playoffs. They will be facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is there any way, I get they made the Super Bowl last year, but if they lose this playoff game, is there any way you fire Nick Sirianni?
I wouldn't, but Philadelphia, that's animalistic,
and that's
sports
why,
fan.
I don't think so, because here's what you find out. When you lose your coordinators, it's a different team. And the Lions may be realizing that next year, that, okay, now our guys are gone. That's great. We got this coaching tree, except for you replace them with not so great coaches.
Matt Patricia.
And you see what happens. So I think if anything, he's going to go out there and try to get some better assistants.
Well, it's hard when you lose both your OC and DC and Steichen and Gannon to head coaching job.
Right.
That's really hard.
Right. I'm saying, but the thing is, certain teams can do it.
Yeah.
The Eagles couldn't.
No,
and that's what I said. The Lions may be in that same category next year.
And the timing of when you lose them. You go all the way to the Super Bowl, you know you lose them, and now guys have already put staffs together in the NFL. You got to find these guys.
My heart bleeds for them. You just hate to see it.
And that is your Black Monday.
Scumbags!